Hey guys, this is Chodaro with Chodaros Designs, Chodaros Bling, and we have another awesome bracelet today by the great MS Loom. This one is called Beaded Border Bracelet, and if it looks a little different to you, it's because we have two different variations that you can do. One is having your band, your beaded band, the border on the outside of your bling, and the other is having it on the inside of your beads, and that way your bead has a nice clean edge to it. Okay, so this bracelet is made on a 7-pin bar setup, and if you would like to use the same colors that I did, I used 8mm beads, which you could use, I would not go any higher than 8, but you could try 6mm, but 8mm works just fine. And I used metallic silver, the burgundy sweets, and the white pearl, all by Rainbow Loom. Okay, so you'll need your C-clip, you'll need about 32 beaded bands. So if you want to do a full wrap, you'll want to go up 2 looms minus 8 pegs. So you count down from the top of 2 looms 8 pegs, and which you'll see as we're looming, but that will give you almost a full wrap. I think Miss MS Loom's wrist is a tad smaller than mine. I just have a little bit I would need an extension for, so I would say I'd probably be comfortable going up maybe almost to the end of the loom. Okay, so you do need to have your bands beaded. So again, these are 12mm, so they're quite large, and you want to make sure that your bead is in the middle of your band. So I'm going to put a bead on every single peg on the sides. So you do want to have that ready, so that way when we get to that step, you'll be ready to go. And that is the back side there. Okay, so let's grab all our supplies and get started. Alright, so we want to have our loom set up in a 7-pin bar configuration. Okay, so your first 2 pin bars and your last 2 pin bars will be aligned, and then 1 pin down will be your 3rd and 5th, and 1 more pin down will be your 4th. Okay, so it goes flat and then slants down. Flat and slants down. Okay, so it has been suggested by MS Loom that if you want to have a full wrap, that you want to come 8 pin bars down from your second loom. So what I suggest is to put yourself a marker, some type of a marker. So the way that the design goes is we're going to go in like I have here, and then we're going to slant up like we started at the bottom. So putting a band across this peg and this peg here will help you whenever we're going to loom up 2 single chains. So if you'd like, you can lay it out, and then this top pin here will be our last pin. So if you're only doing 1 loom, this top pin will be your center pin on your loom, and you'll need to stop on the 3rd row down. This is where this band should be. Okay? Alright, so the first step is super simple. So I'm going to use the burgundy sweets for my border and my bead bands. So we're just going to place 1 there, and that way that'll be our close-up band. So I'm going to take a band out to the left again, and then the last one is straight. Stop there, come to the other side, one band out, to the right again, and then lastly, one going straight across. Okay? So the way this bracelet will be laid out will between your first and second pin and your sixth and seventh. This is where we're going to lay our bling. So we want to put our border bands on the second and sixth peg going all the way up. So you just need 2 single chains on your second and sixth pin bars, and you want to take that all the way up until you come to your marker. This is where that marker will need to be placed. So you guys can go ahead and loom up your chain until you come to right here. Okay, now I put a band down here because I can just lay that band right on top, because this band has to be on top. Okay, if that makes any sense. But that's the marker that you need to stop at. So again, if you're using one loom, it's the 3rd row down, and if you're using 2 looms, it's the 8th peg down and over. Okay, so we'll both continue to add our single chain, and once we're done with that, we will meet back up. All right, so we have our 2 single chains loomed all the way up to the point where we want to stop. And once you have this, you're going to take from your second pin and take it up to the 3rd pin bar. And we can take, if you did wrap a band around there, you can take that off, and then we just continue to that pin, and that will be our end point. So we just want to do, that's a double band, the same thing on the right side. So you want to go from your 6th pin bar, the second one in, and take a band up diagonally and diagonally, ending in that center pin there. Okay, so let me see if I can adjust. This is what your loom should look like. So the end completely matches the top as far as how we placed all of our bands. Okay. All right, so the second step is as easy as the first. We're going to just simply place zigzag bands on both sides of our loom. I'm going to be using the metallic silver, but we're going to start with the second pin bar first peg and go in diagonally like that, and then go out. Okay, so all the bands should end on this band we just put, or on the pin bar we just put our single chain, and then the other side should end on your 3rd pin bar. Okay, so just a simple zigzag, and that will go all the way up to the top of your loom. So we'll do this side. So again, we want to start in this 6th pin bar, but the second one in, and you want to take your band diagonally in and then come back out. So go in and out. So what you do on the left, you're doing on the right, which we've done this a million times. So we can both finish placing our zigzag bands all the way until you reach the top, and your last zigzag band should be from this peg in. Okay, so it should end exactly as you started. Okay, and then we'll meet back here and finish and go on to step 3. All right, so we just got done placing our zigzag bands, so we have another easy step to go. We are now going to lay 2 more single chains. If you've done any of MS Loom's designs, which are on my channel, and Amanda and Monica are Loomy, you will know that putting a couple single chains is not abnormal. But as you can see, I'm just laying them on the 3rd and the 5th bar pins, and you're going to do that all the way up your loom. So, quite confident you guys can finish that up on your own. So we will meet back when you are all the way at the end, and we'll start the next step. Alrighty, we have one last step before we begin looping, and it is simply placing an arrow on your center peg. So the only thing you need to remember is that you always need to start out with the band going first, and then you put one band to the side, another band to the other side. So it doesn't matter if you put your left band or right band first. The only thing that matters is that you lay the center band first, and then your side bands. So you want to make sure that your arrow is facing away. Okay, so it's an actual arrow shape. And we will do this the whole way up our loom. Again, you guys are so intelligent, no concern that you can't finish this one. And we will meet back here when we're through. But one thing I wanted to show you is that, whoops, when you're coming to the end of your bracelet, which I'll show you when we get there as well, but your arrow will end like that. You just simply want to place your last band going up to the top pin. Okay? So go ahead and finish up your middle bands, and we'll meet back here. Okay, so we have finished up placing our arrows, and this is what it should look like at the end. And this is what your whole loom should look like. And we are ready to flip it around and start looping. So just to give you a little bit of a glimpse, what we're going to do is we're going to loom all of these bands except for the border right now. So we need to put a cat band on the center peg here. Okay, so excuse me, for any of you that are curious as to where the beaded bands come in, so after we loom out your zigzags and your arrows, then we're going to lay our beaded bands and then loom up the border. So we're just going to do some looming now, place some more bands, and then we'll loom up to finish up. So we start out with our arrow bands. So you're just going to go into your cat band here, grab that top band, which should be this center peg band, and pull it forward. Now remember I told you it didn't matter which one you placed first, the left or the right. It still doesn't matter, but you just make sure that the first band that you're picking up is the one on top. So if your one on top is to the left, or if the one on top you have is to the right, that's what matters. You don't want to grab the one on the bottom first. Okay, and the last band on the peg should be your top front band, and pretty simple looming. I'm just going to, and that's an LE band. Alright, so if this happens, you'll know how to fix it. I know this color band is right on top of this peg here, and it is right underneath this one, so just to show, I guess it'd be easier if I just unloom that one, and then I take that off and lay that one. So I caught it kind of early, so that was a good break at that point, I guess. So again, we're just going to follow this to the end of your loom, and when you're completed with this step, we will move on to the next. Alright, so we just got done looming up our center bands, so yours should look like that. So our next step is not traditional looming, but it's not as if it's not been done before. We need to take and loom out these two bands right here, our two first border bands. So the one on top for me is going out to the left, and the second one out to the right. Okay, so by doing that, that is going to act as our cap band, because our next step in the looming is these two center single chains going up the 3rd and 5th pin bar. But it's not traditional, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this band, minor gray, so this one here, it's the top one, and instead of taking it back to itself, we're going to just simply take it over to this right peg. Okay? So again, you're going to go into the second pin now, and the top band, which you'll be going through about 3 bands, and not going back to itself, we're going and taking it to the right. Okay? And you want to definitely make sure that you're grabbing the right band. If you use the same color for your zigzag and your single chain, you want to make sure that you don't get that caught up. Okay, so you want to do that all the way up to the top of your loom, and then make sure your bands are pushed down, and then we're going to do the opposite side. So again, just taking that band over to that left peg. Okay, so we'll go ahead and finish that step up our loom and meet back here for the next step. Alright, so we have one more looping step before we place our beaded bands. So in this step we're going to loom out the zigzag bands. So my zigzags are the same color that my single chain was, so they are on both sides of your design. So we're going to have to go into this peg up here, and it's going to be the bottom band. Oops, I'm sorry. We're going to start in this peg here, and it is the second band, and it'll be kind of loose. Bring it back to itself. Stay in that peg, grab the bottom one, and loop it back to itself. So the band, the only band underneath it on the right, on the sides, will be your border. So you should have that in a different color, so you should be aware of which one you're pulling. But it's just a plain zigzag pattern, back and forth, placing the bands back to themselves all the way up your loom. I'm going to stop there so I can show you this side here, which is the same. You want to start out in this second peg here, and this band will be loose, and then this one back to itself. Okay, so go ahead and finish that all the way up to the end, and we will meet back here to start placing our beaded bands. Alright, so we are finished looping all of our bands to the point now where the only thing we have left to loop would be our border, and we get to place our bling bands. But before we do so, and I don't want to forget, and definitely don't want to forget to tell you, let's take this next border band and loom that one over. So here's the center peg. You're going to go into the one on the side and just loom that one over, and the same on this side here. Okay, that way that's done and we don't forget. Okay, so now I believe the count was 32 for 2 loom, or for a loom and a half. But you're going to take your beaded band and you're going to place it on the, I'm going to start on the right side, but our first 2 pins have our border band there, so we're going to start on the next set of pins and just simply place your beaded band over the top like that. So pretty simple. You always want to make sure that your bead is in the middle of your band, and you're just setting one side of the bead on the right peg and the other side of the bead on the left. And maybe now, once you look at the way that it was designed, it kind of makes sense why you have those 2 border bands on the ends. Okay, so again, you're going to do that all the way up to the end of the loom, and I'll put a couple on this side. So again, you're starting with your second pegs, and mine are 12 millimeters, so they kind of just fit in between the pegs, or they might stick. Yeah, they kind of just fit. Okay, so it's the same thing all the way up this side, and once we're done placing our bling bands, we will meet back here for one last time and go ahead and loom up the rest of our bracelet. Alrighty, we are done placing our bling, and your loom should look like this. So your last 2 rows should have a bead in between it. So it's pretty simple to loom up these sides, but we just have to add a couple kind of like cap bands in a way, and loom those a certain way, and we'll be set. So you want to pay attention here. I know it kind of caught me when I first looked at it. So we want to place a band across these 2 pegs, and this band will simulate as the beaded band. Okay, this bottom band that we placed simulates that is the border, so it doesn't simulate as it is the border, and this one will act as a beaded band. Okay, and then we're going to start our looping through this first peg here, so we want to wrap a cap band around that one. Okay, so we want to do the same thing on this left side. I'm going to grab your border color, and you want to place a band across these 2 pegs, and then put a cap band on the outer peg. Okay. Alright, so another thing that's a little bit different is the way that we're going to loom out both sides. So I'm actually going to loom out these 2 sides first, and then go up and do one side, and then go up and do the other. So we want to go into this cap band here, and we want to take that band that we just placed across, and we want to take that band and place it on this peg up here. Okay, so technically we would take it back to itself, but we're not going to do that. We're going to take it and place it on the peg in front, like that. Okay? Alright, so after we do that, then we want to go back down in here, and we want to grab our last band, which is our border band, and we want to take it up on over and place it back upon itself, this peg. Okay? Now, here's the tricky part. You want to go down into this peg, and you only want to go past this first band. You want to grab the second band, okay? Take that second band and place it on the peg in front. So technically, it was that band that we placed across there. But the way we laid it, it allowed us to take the border band over, thus getting caught in there, so we can loom up. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that on this side here, which it's kind of hard for me to, I have to keep my loom to the side. But again, we're going to go back, we're going to go into this cap band and grab the top band and pull it to the pin in front like that. So technically that band should go here, but we pulled it ahead. And we're going to go back into this cap band and grab the bottom band, which is the border, and pull it back to itself on this right band. Okay? Now we want to go into this pin, only go down to the second band. So our first band we go in front of, we grab that second band on that peg and pull this one to the peg in front and push those down. Okay? That's the only kind of confusing part, and the rest of it is just looming ahead. So our beaded bands are laid across, so technically we would always take a band up, put it back to itself. But what we're going to do here is we're going to take each beaded band, so we're going to take the left side of it and take it and loom it forward, and take the right side of it and loom it forward. We're going to do that the whole way up the loom. So you're just taking the top band and just pulling it to the peg in front. So we're not ready for that border band below yet. And this is a very common technique that MS Loom uses in her designs on how we typically bead or loom up the beaded bands. Oops, I'm sorry, I was off camera. So it's the first band on the left side, and it's the only band on the right side. Okay, so we have one last to do. That one up to the edge of our bracelet. And you can push them down if you'd like. I kind of like to because we still have to loom up this border. But before we do that, let's go in and loom up this side. I actually like to go one row at a time, but this slipped off. Last one to the edge of the peg. Okay, and then I'm going to come back down and loom up the right side of the beaded band. Just seems to be easier for me. I think I already did that one, yep. That was a close one. Okay, and then the last one. Alright, so the only thing that's left to do is to loom up our border. Alright, so all of these bands on the right are secure, so if one of them would fall off, you're fine. It's the bands that are on the second row here, on the two inner rows, that the border band will catch and close everything up on the bracelet. So you want to reach all the way down into the bottom and grab that border band and loom it forward. Want to have a stronger band, I guess. Should have maybe mentioned that, but it's not a tight design, but it is going through quite a few bands. Alright, so this one gets looped up to the end here. And then we come over to this far right peg and we take this one off. It'll be a little loose and put it on this one here. and go into this peg to the bottom, grab that one. Oops, and that wasn't it. We circle around. Make sure you grab the bottom. And this one is going to the next one in order here. And then the last one on this side goes to the center peg. So we are completely done with the whole right side. So we just need to do the exact same thing on this left side. Ooh. I don't know about you guys, but I have this 6-pin base from the Valentine's Day kit, and my loom is still leaning in. So either I'm really bad at putting my bases on, or the loom is still leaning in. Okay, so again, just go on this border, pull it in, this one, and our last one to the center. Okay, so remember we put this one band here, and that will be what we will pull through to capture all the bands. But this is what your loom should look like when it is complete. And you want to take a look through the side there. You see there's no bands left. That means I didn't leave one, but I am going to show you it's way easier, way better to go ahead and take off your bands. So the outer ones are very loose, obviously. You can take those off with your hands or your fingers. And you definitely want to always take a beaded bracelet off the loom with the help of a hook. You're already compromising the band by placing a bead on it. You know, bands can break just by themselves, so do not pull this off your loom. Plus we have that one band is not loomed traditionally, so it can get caught up if you pulled it off the loom. Alright, that helps with the tension there. Then you just want to go ahead and do the same on this side. So, if you don't want to pull it off with me, you're more than welcome to fast forward to the end, and I give you some tips. So, you want to stay tuned for that. So if you're feeling daring enough, you can go ahead and try to pull it off, but I'm still pulling mine off by the peg. You want to make sure that you don't overstretch any of these bands. That's the other reason that's good to pull it off the pegs with your hook, because you'll have to tuck them back down in, as this isn't a tight design. And the part that is on top is our finished design. So the part that's coming off the loom right now is the back side, which in that case, if you wanted to place a one-sided bead, you would want to place those beads facing up as you were putting the beads on the pegs. Alright, so just going to go ahead and grab that bottom band up through, and you can add your C-clip, which I know I have one. Gosh. Okay. I had one somewhere, but still lost it. All right, let's see what we have here. Oh, this is gorgeous. It's very flat, thin, and it sits quite nicely on your wrist. I like this a lot. Very pretty. Okay, so I don't have my C-clip. I don't know where it disappeared to, so I'm just going to make a slip knot right there. Alright, so there's a couple options that you have. Okay, if you want to keep your bracelet like this, then by all means do so. Or you can take these outer bands on this bead, okay? See, that's where it goes into the bead, and then this side is where it wraps around that bead, and pull it in. You want to do this carefully because you don't want to twist your bands if you don't have to. But pull that band around the bead. And this will just give you a different look, okay? It puts the bands in between the beads, and then the border of it is an actual bead and not a band. And most times, once you slip this over, unless you really stretch out your bracelet, that band should stay in the center there. But I did my first rendition with dual layer, and I had a lot of fixing to do with the bands because it got twisted. So you want to make sure that you're doing it and they're not getting all twisted. So you see how all these lay nicely, and this one bubbles out a little bit. See? I'm sorry. All you have to do is take this, and we want to pull where we don't see that coming out of the bead. So we just pull it a little bit to the right. And that's the other thing, if any of your beads are coming out, like the first time I did it, I thought it was because my bead was too big, and MS Loom assured me that wasn't the case. So I've learned it was a matter of fixing the beads on the bands. So you have another option there. So you can either have your band on the outside of your bracelet, or you can have your band wrapped on the inside. And another option is, which hopefully MS Loom will have come out as well, is that I think this bracelet is gorgeous also without this row of beads. So as we were looming the bracelet, just not adding that right band on the top and the bottom, and just looming up this border band without adding the beads, you will have a beautiful bracelet there too. So once again, this is the beaded border bracelet created by MS Loom. Be sure to give her a follow. Her link is down below, as she is a wonderful bling loomer. And make sure you hashtag us your renditions. Super excited to see what color combos you guys come up with. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We got lots more coming. See you next time. Bye-bye.